Mackenzie is microwaveable.
Hello interweb! So today is going to be another video of why I kind of suck at teenagery life. My cold is still hanging on, so forgive me if I sound a little weird or I start hacking up a lung in the middle of a sentence. So my idea of a good time apparently is going to dusty old buildings that could probably be considered condemned, and rooting around among old typewriters and furniture with stuffing and springs coming out of it in a place that smells like 7-year mold. That's an itty bit of an exaggeration, but not much. What I'm talking about is antiquing. Now this started when I was about 12 or 13 and I was visiting my grandparents in Minnesota. It seemed like every 30 miles you passed an antique store, whether it was an actual store with like glass cases and clean things, or just a complete dive. One time when I was up there in the car, I said to myself, you know, you like historical fiction, and your favorite subject is history. You'd probably like those stores. So the next year when I visited them, I made it my mission to visit as many antique stores as possible. And that became kind of a thing for when I visited my grandmother up in Minnesota, or just when I had free time here, because there are a lot here in Colorado also. When I first started, I didn't know what I wanted to collect. I knew I wanted to buy things because I really like retro looks, and I want my entire house to be like antique and retro and vintage and awesome. I didn't really know, and I didn't really have a lot of money to spend, and so randomly I just decided to collect costume jewelry. Now, when I first started antiquing, it seemed like a lot of the antique store owners didn't really pay attention to the antique price guide. There, that yellow book right there. I'm a dork. They didn't really know what they had, they just put it out there and wanted to sell it. So I got a lot of jewelry for really cheap, but now they've moved really towards pricing everything and going through it, especially in Colorado. So I started collecting this costume jewelry and I got really into it. I bought pieces that were just so pretty and they looked vintage and antique and it was awesome. And then I painted this box with this really weird design and I cleaned all of the jewelry and put it in there for safekeeping. There are actually a couple of pieces that belong to my great-grandmother, namely this locket, this gold locket, and then this black cameo pin thing. These are my favorite earrings that I got from an antique store, and they're kind of like opal with diamonds around them. So I hadn't been back to Minnesota in a while since this last vacation, and one of my conditions to go was that I wanted to go to at least one antique store. And I'm actually collecting different things now because I had an idea. A lot of YouTubers that I watch have like collages as their background, like posters of celebrities or things and people that inspire them or things that their viewers have sent them. So I said to myself, you know, antique black and white photos of people you don't know and places you've never been and things you've never seen, that would be a cool background. And so that's what I've started collecting this summer, and I've managed to get some pretty good things. I went to a couple antique stores here in Colorado when we were just out and about, and I was like, oh, can we stop there? And the people I'm with was like, yeah, sure, whatever. Because they don't think that antiquing is cool until you get into the store and you see that everything that you had as a child is in that store, and you get really nostalgic, and it's fun. So I got some pictures like these with this old car, and there's a dog on the little running board if you can't tell. Also got this picture that I really like of this Navy guy looking through a bottle. I also went to another one, and this is my favorite picture that I've gotten from a Colorado antique store. And so then we went to Minnesota, and we went to an antique store, and I got some photos. They're cool, they're just not my favorite ones. My favorite ones actually came from my grandmother's friend. We went to have coffee with her friend. She always goes to coffee with all of these older women, and they're all so nice and funny. So everyone told everyone that I was looking for antique photos to make a collage of. One of my grandmother's friends, Audrey, said, hey, I'm throwing away all of these old photos of people I don't know, and so would you like to have them and maybe use them? And I said, heck yes, don't throw them away, I want them. They had some really cool photos. This one of these like World War I, II-ish soldiers by a cannon. I had this one of ruins in Auschwitz, Germany, I think. Auschwitz, someplace in Germany. My grandmother also had a bunch of old black and white photos that she had kept of family members. Namely my grandfather. She had a school picture of him that was really awesome. And she had this picture of her father, so my great-grandfather, working on the railroad tracks where he worked for a number of years. Now, while we were there, we helped my grandmother. Well, I didn't help because I was working, but they cleaned out her garage and went through all these things, and they found this postcard. This is a postcard of Capital Airlines, and if you don't know what Capital Airlines is, I didn't, it was actually an airline that merged with another airline to create United Airlines. So this is actually where my grandfather worked, and he worked with Capital and moved through the merger into United and worked there until he retired. So I don't have a whole bunch of pictures yet because I just thought of this halfway through summer, and so I'm still collecting things. I'm also going to put some black and white photos that I've taken of me and my friends in with all of these older ones. So in the antique store that we visited in Minnesota, I went in their moldy old basement that was so disgusting. It was, ugh, it was terrible. I kept expecting a mouse to run across my feet while I was down there. It was a little bit gross. But I found these old playing cards, and I really don't know what they're for. On each card it has a little part of a fable. So this one is Jack and the Beanstalk. I don't even know if it's a full deck. I don't know, they're just cool to me. So I know this probably isn't exciting for most people, but it's exciting for me because I really like these antique things. I like imagining the story behind these photos and the people and what they were like. And if there was a way, I would definitely take up trying to research these photos and the people in them, and then tracking down descendants and giving the photos back to them. But I don't think we're that far in science yet. So if you see a recognizable person on my wall, let me know. So that's all I have for you for now, and I will see you guys in the kitchen. Bye! So if you watched my last video and you watched it until the end, congratulations, you get 10 gold stars. If you saw the smiley face barn thing, that was actually an antique/craft store near Fossman. And they didn't have any antique pictures, but I did get, randomly, this Pinocchio book that I really love. I really like the cover, it's really vintage, and the pages are yellowing and it smells delicious. I'm really excited to read this, even though it's a children's story, but I'm in love with Disney, so it's okay.